The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old.
So, lots going on. We had a few personal things going on, so we are a little bit late in the episode. Thanks for bearing with us here, but quite the show. Lots of things to talk about. And I think we'll start, let's jump right into it. We got a great question from a listener on our Facebook page, which if you want to reach out to us or have a conversation, that's New Dad Gaming on Facebook. But Matthew Case, what do you dads think of Quest 2? Wife is thinking of getting me one, but hear a lot of mixed reviews. I have a decent laptop I can link with, so it's helpful for game library. So that is a really great question. Jeff, off the hop, like what has been your impression of Quest 2? And let's add a little bit of more color from our gaming dad perspectives, because we've been fairly all in on PSVR. So
yeah.
what is your, as a gaming dad, what do you think of Quest 2? And what do you think of Quest 2 versus or with PSVR?
Right. So anybody that hasn't tried virtual reality, Quest 2 is probably a good entry point. For anyone that doesn't know, Quest 2 is a Facebook-owned, Oculus-built virtual reality headset. Doesn't require a console, doesn't require a PC. Strap it on and you're good to go. And for a reasonable price, I think like $399 or something. So you can jump right in, you got everything good to go.
Yeah. Let me color that a little bit, because I think it's one of the most interesting things. Because currently with VR, if you do Vive, if you do the PSVR, for instance, it's a cable nightmare. If you do it on the PC side, it's usually your rig has to be super powerful. Like it is especially for a really great experience. So it is expensive. There's a lot of wires involved. There's a lot of setup involved. Quest, it is just the face mask basically. Put it on, you're in VR.
Right.
I think it's really important to state because it's really presents a different value for that reason. But please go on there. So you are strapping some Facebook on your face.
That's right. And much like kids, it's cordless, right? Let's just say it's cordless, like umbilical cordless. Like you can just, there's no wires wandering around. So again, great piece of tech. The hardware and technology that has gone into this thing to make it possible without a PC or a console needed is insane to me. That is a great push forward. And the fact that you can like link it into, a gaming library and have everything, again, just strapped on your face, ready to go, no other things needed, sounds amazing to me. My only huge issue with it, just being a gaming dad and even on this show running a Facebook account, is that for any reason, if you do not have a legit Facebook account or in the future decide to just not use Facebook anymore, your hardware and gaming library that you've purchased on this device will no longer work. So the hardware itself will no longer work, and all your purchases will be gone or locked, I guess, until you reboot. So
that's hard.
And I've seen some people kind of take a same liking to, like, let's say Xbox, right? We talk a lot about Game Pass and having a, Microsoft gaming account. If you were to stop that, all those purchases are basically lost, right? So if you were to do that, or Steam, they're locked out until you kind of reevaluate and go back in. The problem with Facebook is that it's you. Like there's no user profile. It has to be like a legit person with an address because they check on all that stuff. And if you are found to not be you, they lock you out. So as a parent, for someone that maybe wants to try with, VR for my kids, I don't like the sounds of that. And I'm trying not to be, that old dad where like, I'm not sure what this technology is all about, kids. You know what I mean? Like I can hear my parents in my head when I was playing, Quake online. They're like, what are you doing with the modem and strangers? But it just seems like that is a big sketchy if point for me that I would just slowly back away and hope for competition to kind of come in and fill that gap. But Those are kind of my biggest thoughts. I'm not sure about yourself.
Yeah, I almost find myself a bit too trusting of corporations and these systems. And it's not, and by saying that, I don't mean Facebook is great and hooray Facebook. They have a lot of answering to do for some awful stuff they do. But more the fact, like, if your account gets into bad, goes bad, or they take off your account, you lose your games. Or, if the service ever goes down, you're not going to have your games anymore. That type of thing for me has never been a particularly big jump. And especially when you're talking about a well-designed piece of kit and hardware that makes it super easy to jump into VR. Because I think about sometimes, like, with my PSVR headset, it doesn't get the use that it could, because I have a hard time dedicating spaces that could be kind of a VR setup. So usually it's kind of, the kids go to sleep, okay, now I have to bring it out, cord up, get it situated, realign everything, which I find with the PSVR, I'll still have a lot of kind of movement because my camera isn't like perfectly aligned.
Okay.
So there's just some steps to get into it, which is great. So the thought that I could, but I'm bullish on VR. I love VR. I'm excited about that as a gaming prospect.
Yep.
So the thought of having just a headset, just a kit, slide it on, get into it. Extensibility of connecting to your Steam library or other just gaming library to do extra VR, super cool as well. Like, check. This is sounding excellent. And I think even more and more exciting than that is I do like that there's almost a work component to it. So the one thing I really liked with their announcement was the workspace demo. I don't know if you recall seeing that.
Right, the augmented reality stuff, right?
Exactly. So imagine, especially in this current time of COVID and everybody's working from home, imagine if you could strap this thing on and you have a full browser screen in front of you. You can change the background to an approximation of your current environment. So, like, you can kind of see a fuzzy version of the desk, but there's a massive 50-foot wide screen. You can have different chat windows. You can change the background so it's instead a beach scene or like a jungle scene, whatever you want it to be. That for me is more like the even more compelling part about it, where I could have a work reason to have it. If I want to kind of disconnect from my current office space and actually jump into a more VR space with VR, that sounds super cool.
Yeah,
I have some. I don't know how well it works because I have not seen any reviews on that yet. Like, nobody's posting anything about it that I've seen, and I've been looking. I want to hear, is it good? Like, I strapped it on and I can totally do my work. I'll use these online design programs. I'll blog. I'll do a bunch of emails. It looks good.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that yet. So, yeah, it's difficult. I sort of have trouble pulling the trigger given that I have a VR set already. And it seems a bit...
Oh, come on, two? You can have two?
And there's a bunch of new consoles coming out, so it's like on a list of priority of things to consider. It's a bit tricky, but it's the type of thing, if you've been sitting on the sideline, I feel, and I'll get your verdict on it after, we can move on, but I feel like if you have been sitting on the sidelines of VR for a while, you really want to kind of jump in and give it a shot. I do feel like it's a good option. Honestly, it's quite cheap, super easy to set up. You're not going to be bogged down. Future-proof slightly, in so much as you can connect to your PC and like do bigger titles. Check. Great. Be aware of the Facebook thing, because that absolutely could be an issue. I've seen some reports come out that they were being fairly responsive for reconnecting accounts, but that you're at the whim of a corporation. You in some tiny sense, you don't own it fully. So just to be aware of that. But for myself, I think if you've been really chomping at the bit for VR, I think it's a good angle. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think, again, like you said, if you're on the sidelines of VR, haven't experienced VR, this is a great one to kind of get that taste. And once you get into VR, because you can't really sell it on a 2D screen, you'll never go back. I really can't do driving or flying games without being in VR. It's just ruined the experience for me, because that depth is there. So again, great. I think it's a good starting point. I hope the competition takes notice and really tries to match or do better. And, if there's enough backlash against the whole Facebook login, maybe it's just logging in for those games and not the headset itself. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they patch that out somehow, I would feel more comfortable that way. If it was just like, again, a barrier to the game's connection and not the hardware itself, I could see. But again, like, it's VR, it's cheap, easy, nothing, no cords. Like you said, you can pack it away very easily and bring it out. I know with the PSVR, it is cables, and kids run around grabbing stuff while you're in VR is horrifying. So it's a good place to start, but I hope competition matches for sure.
Yeah. So that is a tepid yes from the gaming dads.
It's a yes. Yes with a no.
Yes with some caveats.
Yeah, that's right.
That is a good place to put it. Okay, so quick update for myself. I have continued with a bit of a health regime as far as exercising daily on a bike. And in so doing, I place it in front of the TV. Then I'm outside of an exercise bike. And I'm just cranking away at the various games. So much so that I beat, like, what feels like 3 years after its release now. I finally beat Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yay!
It's just like, oh, God. That's
so good.
We promised we wouldn't talk about it, and I won't, because it would be a whole episode of just like, God, there's just so much in that, so much in the ending. So, but more as opposed to saying like, let's talk about that game. What I took away from that was to get it to experience that part of a game. Again, as a gaming dad, I haven't been playing a lot of games, didn't make time for it, and to have been able to go through a game that meant a lot to me and actually get the ending and get to feel that visceral, like, we did it, get to see all the emotions of it. That's amazing, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So again, it's really not so much a discussion on the game as it is a recommitment to the idea of just getting out of your own head, get out of your own way, and just play some games. Like, find a way to integrate it, and all the better if you can get like an exercise bike or a treadmill and get some exercise to support dad health. What we're showing on screen now, if you're watching the video version of this, is it's Horizon Zero Dawn, because now I've been able to jump into a new title.
It's a very new title. I don't think anyone's heard of this. I think it's very like, it might be early access. I'm not sure.
It's like, I think dad review should really be given like a good 2-year cycle. Like, no dads are going to be reviewing the latest and greatest.
That's right.
All to say, so again, in continuing with it, I've been able to go into my library and find a game I've really wanted to play. I'm playing this. It is stunning and ridiculous and amazing. As always, Jeff, you did me dirty by not vouching for how amazing this game is. I'll have to go back to the tapes.
I know. I think you should check the tapes. I think I said it was amazing. I'm not sure. It is. It's an outstanding game, especially for a new IP. It's just crazy.
I think the only thing I seem to remember you playing is recommending for gaming dads is Witcher 3.
Have you played Witcher 3 yet, Trevor?
No.
That might be next.
I don't have that good, but even with dad exercise, I don't have that much dad time. So that was just a quick update on that, and just a reaffirmation that getting out of your own way, allowing yourself just like get in, play a little bit of the game, it could present you with these awesome experiences. And having finished Final Fantasy VII, finally tapping into Horizon Zero Dawn, it's a commitment for myself as a gaming dad that's really paying dividends. So
yep.
I highly suggest it. What is not paying dividends is the cursed, awful, stupid, bad game.
Wow.
Super Mario Bros. Like Wii U Deluxe for the Switch. So the re-release of the Wii game on the Switch. This game sucks, man. I hate this game.
So tell us how you really feel. I'm not sure.
Do you know? Have you ever watched those ridiculous videos of Mario Maker games?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And the level looks absurd. Yeah, well, it's just this. It's just Wii U. It's just this game. That's what it feels like.
Really? Okay.
The precision with which you are expected to jump sometimes on what only feels like gross, sticky, soft marshmallow controls is so frustrating. And then the gotcha factors where it's just, Oh, that platform falls. Haha. Oh, here's like 6 piranhas. Sucker. Oh, here's 20 fireballs. They just out of every corner of it. And the best part is, so now my son adores this game.
Okay.
So he's prompting us to play it. So I almost should have started with that. It's not like I'm just suffering this.
It sounds like it. This is your 2020 game of the year. This is it.
Yeah, my 2020 game of the year is a remake from.
Yeah,
it's a re-release that came out probably 4 years ago of a title initially slated 8 years ago. Classic dad time. It was on sale, and I thought it'd be good. Okay, let's me and my son get into a Mario game. That sounds like fun. God, it's not fun. It's awful. So not only am I struggling with it, and to be clear, I suck at games, right? I'm not trying to say it's like, I'm sure people are great at this game, but for all that's going on, I'm terrible at it. It's going badly. And of course, he's not doing great, right? Now, I'll say this, he's been getting better. That's been really cool to see, is how he didn't even really know how to run jump at first.
Okay. Yeah.
So, hold down to run and then do the, so you can jump further or higher. He's kind of figuring that out now. He's getting a little bit more dexterous. He's doing better and better. But not only am I fighting bosses and Koopas and everything else, I'm fighting my son. Because he just keeps like plowing me and then like down into the worst part. So he'll, for some godforsaken reason, this game decided that one character should be able to jump on top of another character.
Oh no. Okay, I thought you passed through each other.
No. So what happened? So the entire time is like, so I am trying to hit these tiny, nuanced, perfect jumps so we can just beat this stupid level because this is the 10th time we've done it. And then my son jumps on my head and sends me spiraling to my death. At which point he is now laughing so hard that he forgets to play and he dies. Great. We got to do this level for the 11th time. I hate this game, Jeff. I hate this game.
It sounds like he's having a blast. You're a little frustrated, and you need to complete this game secretly at night. Just beat the levels.
I don't want to touch it. He is sweating from the exertion because the entire time he's jumping up and down and bouncing off couches because he's having a riot. I am doing everything in my power not to swear and throw my controller out the window. Like, I'm so upset. I can't describe it. I'm like, at one point I remember I was like slamming my controller against. He's like, "Why?" He's like, "Dad, why are you hitting your controller?" I'm like, "You'll understand when you're older, son."
I think if there's anybody out there in our audience that wants to see Trevor stream this game, I'm all up.
Shut up. Oh,
that's interesting. I've never known. I have never played this particular Mario, so I've never known Mario to be this frustrating. Like, sure, there's hard levels, but the way you're describing it sounds like it's just the amount of don't touch it, right?
The amount of death, it just feels so. Because I kind of get that you would maybe bounce off of this or hit this guy. For instance, they have a couple characters. They have this one guy. It's a rabbit, like Nimbit or something like that, and it's targeted towards younger guys, younger players. This, he does not get hit by any enemies. You just walk through enemies.
Oh, okay.
And you're thinking, okay, that's a kind of nice conceit in that, you can give this to a kid, he doesn't die. It doesn't matter. There's so many jumps that he dies immediately. That it makes no benefit to whatsoever. Like, he'll just die because he's absolutely going to fall off a cliff as soon as he starts. So it's like, hey, you were kind of thinking about parents, but then you decided just to tell them where to shove it.
Yeah, what would frustrate them more? This sounds like a premise for Mario Maker with those crazy, insane levels. Maybe, people just got that idea out of this nightmare.
I'm telling you, the way these levels are constructed and the heavy-handed surprise gotcha ways in which they kill you constantly, it feels like a Mario Maker level every single time. Like, wow. It's so upsetting. So that's what we're playing. He wants to play it every day, and he loves it. He loves it with every ounce of his being. It's his jam right now, and we can't get it off him. So it's like, this is this will be my awful 2020. This is how I end a terrible 2020.
This sounds like it. Yeah. So it's a dad recommend then, right?
No, no. Don't even. That's not even funny as a joke, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. I would be curious. I want to hear two things. If there's any gaming dads who have played it and loved it, it would be fascinating to hear. To hear the fact, because maybe it's just something about me and this game in particular. I'd be curious, you, Jeff, if you ever pick it up or find a copy of it to see what you think of it.
I kind of want to now, just to see if it's
just to spite me.
What is it?
Oh, just a game from a bad place.
Wow.
I dislike. Man, I dislike. Don't suggest it. Get a different one. There's got to be better Mario games that aren't this.
I'm keeping it in mind. Don't worry.
Oh, please don't. Anyways, but I understand you have been having a much better time with your guys playing Twitter darling Among Us. I am fascinated how this came about and how you and your kids play this game.
Well, coming from a lot of deaths in Mario, we go to Among Us where it's just all about death and murdering. A little game called Among Us, which is super popular right now. And my oldest son, who's 10, we gave him one of our old phones, which is like an iPhone 7 or something, and just for Wi-Fi to keep in touch with friends during COVID. And he's in virtual school, so he can have all his messaging on there. And one day he asked, "Can I download Among Us?" Which to me was a complete surprise, because I'm like, "Where did you see it?" Because he goes on YouTube, but he must have saw it on there. He did mention it that his friends were playing it. So I said, okay, let's see what it's all about. Again, as a gaming dad, it was more about the online interaction, just with creeps and stuff. But we downloaded it.
With congresswomen on there, like you never know who you're going to run into.
Just in case. What he does, right? Like his online persona. So I supervised the first game just to see like what he was doing and how it kind of worked. And you don't have to chat online. You can just type and stuff, which was kind of news to me. At the streams I watched on it, everybody was like chatting with each other. So it was all keyboard stuff that he could do. And he did well. I will be proud of my son when he's an imposter and he can go around tricking people into thinking that he's not the imposter. So I like it. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's because it's more of not an adult game, but it's definitely grown up from the Mario and Lego days, which he still does play. But to get into this stuff, it was kind of neat to see his gaming life kind of upgrade and go to that next level. But he's totally into it. He watches streams about it. I had to learn the language of it. I don't know, sus came out of it. It's suspicious or suspect. All these like short form language barriers that, again, being an old dad, I have to get in tune with. Otherwise, I don't know what my kids are talking about. So it's been an experience. He's playing it with his friends still. And I just kind of keep an eye on now and then, more of a spot check, just in case. But he's doing this quite a bit. So this is his phase. This is his Mario for now, which is kind of neat.
It's just it harkens to, firstly, it's a wonderful story, because the game itself, I think, was 3 or 4 years old, never really succeeded, or had modest success. Much, and then the makers of it were actually planning a sequel, which they've since stopped because they just want to improve the current game. Yeah, and they kind of pour more into the current one as opposed to trying to create a brand new one. So to see it, and it harkens back to offline games that we played, like is it called Werewolf, where everybody used to, it's like a camp game where like you sit around in a circle, everybody puts their head down except like one looks around and kills somebody every time, and then you have to guess. But that social skills of, I don't want to call it manipulation, that puts it in a bad light.
Well, it kind of is.
But deduction, intrigue, trading of information, deducing, like there's a lot of really, it's a fascinating exploration and almost translation into real world skills as far as being able to deduce and fool or misrepresent, misdirect. Like all those like really fascinating things. I'll be curious to see if like eventually with a larger family, like you have kids, it's like, no, I didn't spill the milk. Clearly it was.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that already happened. So, yeah, he's great at it. But I did find him, with his one friend, that they were cheating because they were on a call in a game and they were talking to each other to see if they were the imposter. So you can't do that. I lay down the law on that. If you're going to be fair to everybody. You can't go around trying to do that.
It's like a stream. It's like the low-key stream snipe.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do that. Come on. But no, he's been into that one. And then another one that's kind of caught on is Phasmophobia, which has made its rounds virally. A lot of streamers are taking part in it. And it's another one of those, indie games. One developer developed over many years, and it just kind of caught on right now, being October. It's all about ghost hunting with 3 or 4 friends connected. He doesn't play this one, mainly because we don't really have a computer to run it. It's not on a Mac, and his laptops are for school, so those games are off there, Can't do that. But he watches it, so he likes... It's just enough creepy for him to kind of get into, because we're exploring that with movies and stuff too. Just because he's 10, he needs a little bit older, but not too much. But this game is all about ghost hunting and trying to figure out what the ghost is and get everybody in and get clues and then try to get out alive. So it's kind of a neat setup. And again, just being October and kind of spooky, he's all into it. He watches, again, Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, PewDiePie's in it, and they all play together. And they're pretty calm about it. Like, they're not going off swearing left to right center, but not that that's a huge issue, but if his little brother walks into the room, we've kind of said this has to come off. Want to clean.
Depends how it's done. Like, generally, if one slips out, fine, but like if they're sitting there just talking filthy and swearing up a storm, it's like
it's just not productive. Yeah, it's just
that's a great way to put it. So I've never played this. I've never even heard this one. Among Us, I've been faintly aware. I mean, I think everybody tangentially kind of informed with gaming would be aware of it, but this one it is cooperative, like 3 people.
Yeah, it's a cooperative team. You go in there with 4 people, and each person can only bring in like 2 devices to try and track down this ghost or something in this environment. So you kind of have to like strategize who's taking the flashlight, who's taking, the temperature monitor. So when the temperature drops, the ghost is in the room, but not everybody can have the flashlight. So it's kind of like this weird, strategy, and who's, going to go in as the confident, brave person and the other person that can hang off and plant cameras and stuff. So it's kind of a neat, again, cooperative game that does give you a little bit of the creeps. It's got great jump scares in it. Not like crazy, because it doesn't even look realistic, really. Like, the environments kind of do, but the kind of, you saw on the stream, there's a little creepy ghost. Some people can see the ghost, some people can't. It just kind of depends on who or what you're doing, which kind of adds to that. And then if somebody dies, either by insanity, because the more often you see the ghost, you have an insanity meter, kind of like a health bar. Or if the ghost gets you, you die. Like, you flat out die. Oh. You can't talk to those people anymore. So your verbal is literally cut off, which is kind of that added element. So it's kind of a neat idea. I think ghost hunting has been around for forever, and just to kind of put it into a fun game, that's a neat idea.
Yeah, especially the camaraderie of it. I mean, it's an interesting change from when we were younger and we were playing online games, because it was either quasi-cooperative in that, like, it's a RTS or a shooting game or something, and we're on this team, we're trying to defeat that team. Or just you versus everybody, like a Call of Duty or whatever it be. Or, GoldenEye, of course, the dad golden standard.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yes.
Of multiplayer. but where it's like, it's action and it's visceral and it's competitive. And now these ones, so Among Us and Phasmophobia, that's a heck of a name.
Yeah.
I mean, it now just becomes this more communal, slow pace. I would want to say, place where you're going to be navigating